It's Cabot Barden, who is author and songwriter and musician, joins us this morning. Hadn't talked with Cabot in quite a while. Cabot, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
What's the latest with you?
Oh, writing books, doing book tours with John T. Wayne, John Wayne's grandson. Last one we did was 2 weeks ago at Arab. Like got blown away by a tornado. But had a tornado actually come through the camp Sunday morning and wiped out our tent and the folks next to us. If John's car broke down, he would have been there, but his car broke down luckily for him because his tent would have been next to ours and he'd have been blown away too.
Goodness. How'd you get started writing?
One of my favorite authors is Clive Cussler. I actually got to meet him in '89 and I said, if I ever wrote a book, what would I write about? And he said, write what you know. He said, that's what I do. I said, okay. Of course, he's had over 50 top #1 bestsellers. And so I started my first book about writing about musicians because I played in bands since I was 14. And then the next 2 books after that were about musicians. And then I went off in different directions after that with different books. Fourth one was about my ancestors who came over here from Ireland in 1836 and ended up being slaves on a plantation in South Georgia. And then I did a sequel to that based on my grandfather, who was a deputy sheriff in Fitzgerald, Georgia. And then the 6th book was really interesting. Somebody said, why don't you write a book about the Indians in this area? I said, okay. Well, I got to digging into it and came up with this story here about Slocta Chinnaby, who was this guy that saved Fort Leslie in Talladega during the Creek Indian Wars.
How do you come up with, I mean, you've got to do a lot of research to write books like this one.
Yeah, I did a lot of digging with this one, asked a lot of questions, did a lot of digging through the library in Talladega especially, and found out a lot of neat, interesting stuff. And when I got this one finished, I thought, well, what do I do now? So then I got thinking about Slocta Chinnaby's best friend, Jim Fife. No story on him, so I went digging on that one. Didn't find much. Couldn't find even when he died. We know where his house was. It's still sitting there in Easterboga. We've been in his house. She has. My wife, she's sitting over there. But this one's about 80% fiction and about 20% truth, based on Jim Fife's life that I could find out. And when I finished this one, then I went to this one, which is Jim Fife's son. This is about 95% fiction, but it's my first Western.
All right. Were you in Nashville at one time?
Yep. Lived there 5 years.
Yeah. What happened there?
Me and my ex-wife were trying to get a contract with a record label up there. She was a country singer. And we came close, but we found out she was expecting, and I said, no, you don't want to take the baby on the road, because I played on the road years ago with Frank Lister, and that's just not a life to have.
Everybody's a star in Nashville.
Hell yeah. And you can run into stars literally on the street. I've done that.
What's next for you?
What's next? I'm working on a book now that's different from the rest of them. It's about 1908. There's a train robbery up near Moulton, Alabama. And the couple that's on the train, they end up being federal agents for Teddy Roosevelt, who was president at that time. Teddy was good friends with Joe Wheeler. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Wheeler. He was a general during the Spanish-American War. He was the only general who served in the Confederacy during the Civil War and then served with the U.S. Army during the Spanish-American War. And he was over Teddy Roosevelt. And, of course, I got into that because my grandfather fought under Teddy Roosevelt in the Spanish-American War. So,
what goes into writing a book?
A lot of research, because I like to deal with facts. I like to build my story around actual facts, because that's what Clive Cussler does. He'll take a story that happened 1920s, 1800s, and then he'll build his current story off of that. That's how he gets the story started. So I like to do the same thing. He's my model for writing.
How long does it normally take to write a book from start to finish?
My first book, I started on jotting down just memories and stuff in 1986. I put it down. In 96, I picked it back up, wrote a little more. And then in 2009, I finally was unemployed, had nothing to do, so I finished the book. So that was like 20, 30 years. But the next book was like a year. And now it takes me about 3 months to pump one out. And they're usually over 200-something pages.
Now, your lovely wife is here with you today,
Yep.
and she's an integral part
Yep.
of what you do.
She supports me 100%. She's my PR lady. She does a lot of legwork for me. She's a great lady.
Where can your books be found?
Amazon.com, eKindle, the library here has them if you want to just check them out and read them. Talladega Library has them. Several of the local schools have them. And I have them when I do my book signings.
Cabot Barden, our guest this morning, author, songwriter, and musician. When did you think, wow, I can do this?
Well, after I finished the first book, I got it published. When I got it published, I thought, wow, okay, let's do this. So I started writing books, pumping one out behind the other. And then 2 years ago, I retired, and because I'm 65 now. So I said, well, hey, I'll write books. We had a music store in Talladega for about 3 years, and we just decided to close it up.
Now, writing a book and publishing a book, a little bit different, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely different. You can write books all day long, but if you don't have a publisher, they're going to sit on your shelf. And to find a good publisher, that's a trick in itself. Now, my first publisher, I went with Publish America. Went online and found them. But I don't recommend them because they are what you call a vanity publisher. They were kind of a crossbreed to start with, where they were sort of vanity, but they would actually help you get some publicity for your books. But then they got bought out, and when they got bought out, my royalty checks went. So I said, okay, you're fired.
Cabot, we've heard it said before, man, everything's happened in your life. You ought to write a book.
Yeah. A lot of people got great stories that they could write. I was talking to my nephew-in-law yesterday, and he was saying, I've got all these great ideas. I want to write a book. I said, okay, come to our meetings. We've got a local chapter of the Central Alabama Writers Guild. It meets, it'll be, first Monday of every month. We change it around. Every month at the museum here in Sylacauga at 6:30. And we have a bunch of writers who write their books, and most of us have been published. There's a few that haven't yet, but we're helping them get along the way. And that's what we do, is we help people find out how to publish, the easiest, quickest way to do it. Or there's two ways to publish. You can self-publish, or you can go get an agent and then get a publisher. Agent and the big publishers, that's how you get a big publisher, with an agent. You can't do it any other way. So that's basically it. Now, there's a lot of vanity publishers out there. These guys will take your money in a heartbeat and print your book up, and then that's it. They don't do anything to promote it.
When you first hit the market and, your books, Amazon, wherever it may be found, it had to make you feel good. Yeah,
it did. It made my day. I thought, well, I'm a washed-up musician now because, I lived in Nashville and I saw the age group that they're shooting for now. My ex-wife, she was 32 when we were up there, and the guy that was her producer, he said, well, if you were 33, I wouldn't talk to you, simply because of your age. So they're shooting for the younger crowd now up there, and of course, country music's not what it used to be. It's more like redneck rock. It's not country.
Yeah. Cabot Barden, our guest this morning. Cabot, author, songwriter, and musician, has written, 9 books or so?
Wrote 8, published, and I'm working on my 9th.
Yeah. A favorite?
A favorite, I'd have to agree with everybody else that said it's Shamrocks and Scallywags, the book about my ancestors during the Civil War. Clive Cussler, he didn't endorse that book. He wrote me a letter back and said, I really enjoyed this book, so must be something to it. If a #1 bestseller author says he liked it, it must be pretty good.
Whose writings do you like to read?
Clive. Clive Cussler mostly. Every now and then I pick up Michael Crichton or Anne Rice.
Do you cringe at some of the stuff's out there today?
Some of it, yeah, but I'm picky about what I read anyway, though. So.
To find out more about your writings, what do they need to do?
You can contact me through Facebook. You can contact me through my website, cabotbarden.com, or cabotbardenauthor.com. You can contact me that way. We're in Talladega, or you can come to one of my book signings. I've got a list of the book signings where John and I are doing this year. Pass it over to you.
All right, you got, let me see. The next one's going to be August.
Yeah, that one will be just me. Up at the Bessemer Public Library.
You know, not only is Cabot a writer, but you're quite the musician, too.
Yeah, I picked a few songs. I had a few on the radio. It's been a fun trip.
How many songs you written?
I lost count. The last one that I wrote was with John T. Wayne, John Wayne's grandson. We did one called Saddle Up. And you can find that on YouTube. We did a video of his books and my books that we published, and along with the music. So it's basically a tribute to his grandfather, John Wayne.
You see a lot of younger people that are interested in writing?
A lot more than I was seeing to start with, but then I'm getting around more than I was then. So there's a lot of kids that are interested in writing. They just don't know how to go about it.
And y'all's group, your meetings, is a good way to get started with that.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you do there?
We encourage people to write. We get people to get up and read from their writings. We show them ways to get published. The quickest and easiest way to get published, if you don't know how to get hold of an agent, is go through CreateSpace. It's the cheapest way. You can go through all these vanity publishers, and they'll take thousands of dollars out of your pocket, because that's how they make the money, is off the authors, not the people buying your books.
Finally, this morning, Cabot Barden is our guest, and Cabot, all of us have had things happen in our life. You say, wow, people would never believe this.
Yeah.
You know, things that happen, and you put some of those things together and publish a book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Yeah, that's what my nephew was saying yesterday. He was saying, yeah, I've had all these crazy things happen with my family and everything. He said, of course, I have to change all the names. I said, well, that's the best way to do it. Change the names, protect the author.
Cabot, always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you for coming by today, and appreciate Cabot Barden up there in Talladega. Cabot's an author, songwriter, and musician. His books are available at several different venues, so check those out too.